Hare Krishna, welcome to this special program on the systematic study of the essence of all Vedic knowledge and wisdom, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we begin today's session, I shall chant a few prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So welcome again to this special program on the systematic study of the topmost among all the Vedic scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have been discussing the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam contains a total of 12 cantos, 335 chapters and 18,000 shlokas. And the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the smallest among the 12 cantos, containing 10 chapters and 393 verses or shlokas. And today we are going to take up the conclusive, the final chapters from chapter number 8 to 10, 8, 9 and 10, the final concluding chapters of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Till now, we have seen how there was a very interesting conversation at the beginning of creation between the great sage Narada and Lord Brahma pertaining to the subject of the complete mystery of the entire material world, the creation, maintenance and destruction of the entire cosmic manifestation. It has now been clearly established by the first living entity of this universe, Lord Brahma himself, that the supreme lord of the entire creation, both material and the spiritual world, the supreme controller, the supreme absolute truth, the supreme creator, maintainer and destroyer is none other than the supreme lord Krishna Vasudeva. His various incarnations, specifically the Leela incarnations, the Leela avatars have been very beautifully described by Lord Brahma in chapter 7 of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now, in the 8th chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, after hearing these subject matters, which were discussed in the conversation between Narada and Lord Brahma, Parikshit, who was hearing these topics from the great sage Shukadeva Goswami, inquired about many subject matters. So the entire 8th chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam mainly consists of the enquiries of Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami. In fact, there are a total of 37 questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadeva Goswami. These are the perfect questions about the truth to know the truth about the entire material creation and beyond it, and also about the supreme absolute truth. So let us first hear what are these very important questions. There are 37 questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami in this 8th chapter of the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the 8th chapter begins with 2.8.1. Rajo Vacha Parikshit Maharaj inquiring Brahmana Chodito Brahman Gunakhyane Gunasya Cha Yasmai Yatha Praha Narado Devadakshanaha. The first question raised by Parikshit Maharaj, which is recorded in 2.8.1, is that how did Narada Muni, after being instructed by Lord Brahma to expand and preach the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, how did he explain the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord, and before whom did he speak? So, how did Narada continue the important task of preaching the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam, of spreading the message of Srimad Bhagavatam? To whom did Narada instruct this most essential and important knowledge? So this is the first question, and Parikshit now glorifies the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, to be of the supreme and paramount benefit for all living entities, as has been repeatedly stated in this 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. एतद् वेतितुमिच्छामि तत्त्वं तत्त्वविदां वर हरेरद्भुतवीर्यस्य कथालोकसुमङ्गलाः. Parikshit says that I very eagerly wish to know all the Bhagavad Katha, Harehe Katha, the narrations concerning the Supreme Lord Sri Hari Krishna, who possesses unlimited wonderful opulences and which are the most auspicious for all the living entities in this universe. Kathayasva Mahabhaga Yathaham Akhilatmani Krishne Niveshya Nissangam Manastyakshe Kalevaram. He further requested Shukadeva Goswami to please continue narrating Kathayasva Mahabhaga, the Srimad Bhagavatam, so that Parikshit could firmly establish his manaha, his mind, upon the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, Krishne Niveshya, Nissangam, completely freed from all material attachments, and in this way attain the supreme success at the time of death while quitting his body. Parikshit further glorifies the Srimad Bhagavatam as Shrinvatah Shraddhaya Nityam Ghrinatascha Svacheshtitam Kalena Na Atidirghena Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. People who hear the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always contemplating and taking the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam very seriously. So this is very important, that Shrinvataha Shraddhaya Nityam, the right way to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that it should be heard Shrinvataha Nityam, constantly or regularly, and Shraddhaya, with great divine transcendental faith. So, Grinatascha Svacheshtitam, the result of such a hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that Kalena Na Atidirghena, very soon, very quickly, Bhagavan Vishate Hridi, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is manifested in the core of our heart in a very, very short time. So this is the very wonderful result of simply receiving the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source, from the right spiritual master and teacher like Shukadeva Goswami. And when one begins to hear, to give an oral reception to the Srimad Bhagavatam, pravishtaha karnarandrena swanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam krishnaha salilasya yatha sharad. Parikshit gives a very beautiful example here that the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the sound incarnation of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, when it enters the heart of a self-realized devotee through the ears, pravishtaha karnarandrena, what happens is it cleanses all the dust of material contamination like lust, anger, and hankering, and it just acts like Salilasya Yatha Sharad, the rain of the autumn season, the action of the autumnal rain upon even a muddy pool or reservoir of water is that the autumnal rain completely clears all the accumulated dust in a pool of water, and that reservoir of water again comes to its original state of a pristine and a clear water body. So many times the consciousness of the soul is compared to the clear waters of a lake, but in material association in this samsara, in this material world, it is just like adding truckloads and tons of dirt and filth in a clear lake, in a body of water. So it becomes completely contaminated, and the original quality, the original characteristic, the original body of water becomes completely filled with dirt and this contamination. So when there is, the best way to cleanse such a water body is by the Sharad Varsha. The rainfall during the autumnal season has a wonderful effect of completely cleaning all this dirt, and the pool of water again comes back to its original clear, pristine condition. Likewise, the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam is so spiritually miraculous that simply by giving an oral reception to the rain of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, it enters through the ear and goes into the heart of a living entity. The heart and soul of every living entity is completely contaminated with material qualities like lust, anger, and the six great enemies. But the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam works wonders and completely cleanses all this material dirt, and one comes back to the original state of pure consciousness. So therefore, such is the wonderful effect of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namunchati Mukta Sarva Parikleshaha Panthaha Swasharanam Yatha. Dhautatma, once now a pool of water after being cleansed always there is a chance of again the water becoming dirty, becoming muddy. Whereas once the heart and the soul is cleansed by the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhautatma Purushaha Krishnaha Padamulam Namunchati, a pure devotee of the Lord whose heart is cleansed by the process of devotional service, of hearing the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, never again relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for now they give him complete satisfaction. It is just like Panthaha Swa Sharanam Yatha. It is just like a Panthaha means a traveler who has been traveling and wandering for a very long time, finally returns back to Swasharanam, comes back to his original home. So therefore, when one again attains the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, it is just like the sojourn of the soul in this material world in 84 lakh species of life is like the journey undertaken by the soul in great illusion, passing through all kinds of dangers at every step, through many forests and dangerous places, and finally after a very long journey, the soul, the Jivatma, comes back, returns back to its original home, the spiritual world, the eternal kingdom of God. Having attained once, the soul never again comes back to this temporary, miserable material world. So now again from 2.8.7, we find the list of many inquiries and questions raised by Parikshit Maharaj. The first question is already there in 2.8.1, wherein Parikshit inquires about how did Narada spread the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and to whom did he speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. The second question is यद अधातुमतो ब्रह्मन् देहारम्भोऽस्य धातुभिः यदृच्छया हेतुना वा भवन्तो जानते यथा, that the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. So does the Jivatma, the Atma, acquire the body accidentally, or there is some cause behind it? What is the cause for the Atma to accept the material body in samsara? So this is the second question. The third question is that in 2.8.8, आसीद् यद् उदरात् पद्मं लोकसंस्थानलक्षणं यावानयं वै पुरुष यत्तावयवे पृथक् तावानसाविति प्रोक्तः संस्थावयववानिव. If the Supreme Lord, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, which is the birthplace of Lord Brahma, is possessed of a gigantic Virat Rupa, according to some caliber or measurement, then what is the difference, the specific difference between the Virat Rupa and the material bodies of the common living entities? So what is the difference between the Virat Rupa, the body of the Virat Purusha, and the body of the various living entities in this material world? Now the fourth question is, please also explain the personality of Godhead as Paramatma, who is in the heart of all the living beings and is the Lord of all energies. How is it that although he is in the heart of all living entities, he is untouched by the external material energy? This is the fourth question. The fifth question is that please explain the various different planetary systems which you have briefly explained to be the various limbs and parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. Please explain the actual position of all the various lokas in this material universe. The sixth question is in 2.8.12 that yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha kalo numiyate bhuta bhavya bhavat shabda ayurmanam chayat satah. Please explain the duration of time known as kalpa between creation and annihilation. Please also, the seventh question is, please explain about vikalpa of the other subsidiary creations. The eighth question is Kalaha. Please explain the nature of Kala or time, which is characterized by the three conditions of Bhuta, Bhavya, Bhavat, of past, present, and future. The ninth question is about the duration and measurement of the ayuhu, of the lifespan of the various living beings, of the devatas, the human beings in different parts of the universe. So in the various planetary systems, the Ayushya, the lifespan is different. So Parikshit wishes to inquire about, wishes to know about the various differences of Ayu or lifespan in the different planetary systems. And further, in the 10th question is, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long. 11th question is, what is the beginning of time following the course of action? And the 12th question in 2.8.14 is, describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the interactions of the three modes of material nature, how does they act upon the living being, promoting him or degrading him among the different species of life. There are 84 lakh species of life, and how does the living entity go through the transmigration in the cycle of birth and death among these species of life. So the next question is, please also describe the 13th question, how the creation of the various universes, how does it happen, the four directions, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas and the islands, as well as the various kinds of inhabitants. How does this creation take place? In 2.8.16, Parikshit then further inquires that Pramanam Andakoshasya Bahyabhyantara Bhedatah Mahatam cha Anucharitam Vagnashrama Vinishchayaha. The 14th question is, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions. Next 15th question is, please explain the character and activities of the Mahatmas, of the great souls. Also the characteristics of the different classes of Varnas and Ashramas. And then in the 17th question is, please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation. Yugani, Yugamanam cha, and also the Yugamana, the duration of all the yugas. Please also explain the different activities of the various incarnations. Avataranucharitam yad ascharyatamam harehe, of the Supreme Lord in the various different yugas. 2.8.18, the 20th question asked is, Nridam sadharano dharmaha savisheshascha yadrishaha. Please explain what are the general duties, the sadharana dharma of the human society, as well as the specific occupational duties and the classification of the social orders, the Rajarshinam, as well as the administrative royal orders, and also the religious principles of one who is in apat, or in great distress. So that is called as apat dharma. Then the 25th question is about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, the causes and their development. The 26th question is about the process of devotional service and the method of the mystic powers, the siddhis. The 28th question is in 2.8.20 onwards, that what are the opulences of the great mystics and what is the ultimate realization of such mystics? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? And what is the basic knowledge of all the Vedic scriptures, including the Itihasas and the Puranas, the various branches of history and the supplementary Puranas? The 31st question is, please explain to me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are finally annihilated. Please also tell me of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites, and what are the procedures of dharma, artha and kama, of religion, economic development and sense gratification? The 35th question in 2.8.22 is asked by Parikshit Maharaj, that Yovanushainam sargaha pashandasya cha sambhavaha atmano bandhamokshau cha vyavasthanam swarupataha. Please also explain how all the living beings who are originally merged in the body of the Supreme Lord at the time of creation, how do they come forth, and how do the infidels, the Pashandis, how do they appear in this world? And also explain about how the living entities get bandhana and moksha, are conditioned in this material world, and how do they attain liberation. So these are the list of 37 questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami. Perfect questions. And now from the 9th chapter onwards, we shall find the perfect answers given by the greatest authority, the greatest spiritualist and transcendentalist, Shukadeva Goswami. He is also addressed by Parikshit Maharaj that Sarvam etaccha bhagavan prichato me anupurvashaha tatvatorhasi udahartum prapannaya mahamune. Kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all the questions, in all that I have inquired from you, and also that I may have missed out, I may have not inquired from the very beginning of my inquiry. So since I am a soul surrendered to you, I have accepted you as my Guru, as my spiritual master. Please impart full knowledge in this connection. Atra pramanam hi bhavan parameshthi yathatma bhuhu apare chanutishtanti purvesham purvajay kritam. Shukadev Goswami is glorified here that he is as good as Lord Brahma, who is mentioned, who is described to be the most distinguished in the realization of all knowledge. So Shukadeva Goswami, being such a exalted authority, is inquired in this manner by Parikshit, and Parikshit again says that Name asavaha parayanti brahman anashanadami pibato achyuta piyusham tadvakyam divinisritam. We should remember that Parikshit had taken a vow of anashana, of fasting till death. So although he has not consumed any kind of food or water, Parikshit expresses that because I am continuously drinking Amrita, nectar in the form of the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is flowing from your lotus mouth in these speeches. I do not feel any kind of exhaustion due to this severe kind of fasting. So now, Suta Vacha Saupamantrito Ragnya Kathayam iti Satpatehe Brahmarato Bhrisham Prito Vishnuratena Samsadi. When Shukadeva Goswami was thus invited by Maharaj Parikshit to speak on the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Praha Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sammitam Brahmane Bhagavat Proktam Brahmakalpa Upadhate. Shukadev Goswami now began to narrate the same message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was originally instructed by the Supreme Lord Krishna at the beginning of creation to Lord Brahma. So, Yad Yad Parikshit Rishabhaha Pandunam Anupritchati Anupurvena tat sarvam akyatum upachakrame. So Parikshit Maharaj asked so many questions, and Shukadeva Goswami now began to answer all these questions in the same order of succession. So now, after these inquiries and questions of Parikshit Maharaj, let us move to the next chapter, the 9th chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, to begin with the replies, and we can understand the perfect answers given to the perfect questions by Shukadeva Goswami. 2.9.1 Shukadeva Goswami says, Shri Shukavacha Atmamayamrite Rajan Parasyanubhavatmanaha Na Ghatetagtha Sambandhaha Swapnadgashtur Iva Anjasa. The first question that had been asked by Parikshit was about how does the Jivatma attain material bodies, or how does the Jivatma, who is by nature spiritual in nature, how does he come to the material world? So this is replied, the answer is given by Shukadeva Goswami, that the cause for the living entities downfall, for the Jivatma's downfall to the material world is Atma Maya, when the living entity is influenced by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, which is known as Maya Shakti. At that time, although the pure spirit soul has no relationship with the material body, yet that relationship is established. It is just like Swapna Drashtur Ivanchasa. The existence of the living being in this material world is compared to a swapna, to a dream like existence. The Jivatma is actually like in a state of deep sleep, and all the various punarjanmas and all the this cycle of birth and death in 84 lakh species of life, the birth, life, death, and again rebirth, life, death, rebirth, life, death, all this punarjanma is exactly like a swapna, a dream for the eternal living entity. So, therefore, we should understand this very, very clearly. This is a very important principle, that whatever material help that can be given is just like the help given to a person who is facing a lot of problems and sufferings and miseries in a dream. Just like in a dream condition, if one is dreaming that one is lost in a thick and dense jungle or forest and is being attacked by a ferocious tiger, and the person is now running, and the tiger is in a hot trail behind the person, and one is trying to escape here and there, and there are so many other dangers, there are so many pitfalls, there are some snakes and there are elephants and all kinds of dangers in that forest. So now there are two kinds of help that can be provided. The first kind of help is to enter that dream state and provide a dream gun to the person, and with the dream gun one fires at the dream tiger, and the danger from the tiger is eradicated. One becomes free from the danger, from the attack of the tiger. But the dream continues. You got free from the dream tiger, then there'll be a dream snake, a dream lion, a dream pitfall, all kinds of dangers still can continue to affect the person. The best help that can be given is to awaken the person, and then one sees that there is no forest, there is no tiger, there is no danger, and one can thus awaken from such a state. So this is the value of spiritual life. Spiritual life is not the purpose of spiritual life is not to provide any kind of material help to the material existences of the living beings in this material world. The real value of spiritual life, the real gift is given of by spiritual instructions of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, is to enlighten and awaken the living entity to one's pure spiritual consciousness, and thus making the person free from all the dream-like states and existences of this material world. So, in this way, Shukadeva Goswami begins to explain that thus the illusioned living entity in the conception of aham mama, in a false conception of I, aham, the living entity in this material world, all the living beings in this material world are in the false conception of identity. Everyone thinks that one's identity is this body, the sharira, the material body, either as a man or woman, or a Hindu or a Muslim, or an Indian, in terms of gender, race, nationality, religion. All these identities pertain only to the body, or even as a cat or dog or bird or aquatic. So all these are only the identities of the material body, which is a false identity because it is just like an external covering. And aham and mama, the false conception is, one is the false identity, and mama, everything in connection with that identity to be accepted as mine or mama. So in this way, यर्हि वावमहिम्नि स्वे परस्मिन् कालमाययोः रमेत गतसम्मोहस्त्यक्तोदास्ते ततो भयम्. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his original constitutional glory, which is known as Mahimni, in his original glory, Parasmin Kalamayayoho, which is beyond Kala and the illusory energy. Kala and Maya cannot have their jurisdiction in the spiritual realm. So at that time, Rameta Gata Sammoha, giving up all material misconceptions, one becomes situated in the stage of self-realization. So Atma Tattva Vishuddhyartham Yad Aha Bhagavan Ritam Brahmane Darshayan Rupam Avyalika Vratadritaha. So now Shukadeva Goswami begins to explain the actual history of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was originally revealed by the Supreme Lord at the beginning of creation to Lord Brahma. So when the Supreme Lord, being very pleased with Lord Brahma because of his undeceptive, non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, the Supreme Lord revealed the entirety of truth regarding the material and the spiritual worlds. So this history about the origin of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the first revelation of the spiritual reality and truth at the beginning of creation by the Supreme Lord to Brahma. That wonderful history is now being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami in this chapter, that Saadidevo Bhagavan Paro Saadidevo Jagatam Paro Guruhu Swadhishnyamasthaya Sisrikshayeshata Tam Nadhyagacham Drishamatra Sammatam Prapancha Nirmana Vidhiryaya Bhavet. At the beginning of creation, when Lord Brahma took birth on the lotus seat, and he looked around in all the directions and was bewildered as to his own identity and what function he was supposed to do. He understood that Brahma understood that he is supposed to do something with this material world, but what exactly his role, function, and even his own identity was not properly understood by Brahma. And at that time, Sachintayan, when Brahma was in deep contemplation as to what he should do, so it's such a difficult situation. You can just picturize or imagine that you are the one and only person in a dark place. Everything around you is dark, and there is just a huge lotus flower, and you don't even know what your origin is and what you are next supposed to do. So that was the condition of Lord Brahma, and he began to deeply contemplate Sachintayan. So this is the beginning of creation. Lord Brahma has taken birth on the lotus flower, sprouted from somewhere. Even Brahma doesn't know still, but we know that actually it is from the navel of the Supreme Lord Vishnu in his second expansion of the Purushavatara known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. But Brahma, Lord Brahma, at the beginning of creation, he was unaware, and he began to deeply contemplate about the source and origin of his creation. So as he was in deep contemplation, he heard Dvyaksharam Ekadambhas Upa Sachintayan Dvyaksharam Ekadambhas Upashrinodvirghatitam Vacho Vibhuhu Sparsheshu Yat Shodashameka Vimsham Nishkinchananam Nripayadhanam Viduhu. When Brahmaji was thus bewildered and was deeply contemplating, he received help in the form of the sound vibration of two specific letters. Dvi Aksharam. Brahmaji heard Dvidha, Dvirgatidam. He heard twice two letters being vibrated, and these two letters were the 16th and the 21st letters of the Sparsha Varnas. So in the Varnamala of the Sanskrit alphabet, the 16th letter is Ta. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Ta is the 16th letter, and the 21st letter is Pa. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. So the 16th is Ta and the 21st letter is Pa, and combining it becomes Tapa. So now Lord Brahma got the indication and the clue that for taking the next step to understand the mystery, to unravel what he's supposed to do next, he would have to perform tapa or tapasya or penance and austerities. So now Lord Brahma nishamya tadvaktri didrikshaya disho vilokya tatranyada pashyamanaha swadhishnyamasthaya vimirshya tadhitam tapasyupadishta ivadadhe manaha. Lord Brahma now made the firm resolution to perform tapasya or penance, and he sat on the same seat, and divyam sahasrabdam amogha darshano jita nilatma vijito bhayendriyaha atapya tasma akhila lokatapanam tapastapiyam stapatam samahitaha. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1000 years by the calculation of the higher divine planetary systems, which is a very long duration of time. And he heard, after hearing this divine vibration from the sky, he accepted it as the divine revelation, and he controlled his mind and senses. So his practice of penance and austerities is tapastapiyam tapatam samahitaha, is the ideal for all mystics and for all the practitioners of spiritual life, and therefore Lord Brahma is known as the greatest among all the ascetics. And finally, after Brahma concluded his penances, Tasmai Swalokam Bhagavan Sabhajitaha Sandarshayamasa Param Nayat Param Vyapeta Sanklesha Vimoha Sadhvasam Swadrishtavadbhir Purushera Bhishtutam. Finally, Tasmai Swalokam Bhagavan Sabhajitaha, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, being Sabhajitaha, completely satisfied by the endeavor of his own child. Brahma is the first son of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu gave birth to Brahma independently just by his sankalpa. From his abdomen, from the lake of his navel, emerged the lotus flower, and the first living entity was born, which is Lord Brahma. So Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, was pleased now to reveal the real truth of Swalokam, of his divine, spiritual, eternal world beyond the darkness of this material world. So this was the divine revelation given by the Supreme Lord to Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation. So this material world is called Tamaha, is darkness, but beyond this material world is the original eternal kingdom of God, the spiritual world known as Swaloka or the Vaikuntha Loka. So now the Supreme Lord was pleased to manifest his personal abode Vaikuntha Loka, the supreme planet beyond all others. And this transcendental abode of the Lord is always adored and worshipped by all self-realized persons who are known as the Nitya Muktas, the eternally liberated souls who are completely free from all miseries and illusory existences. So now, what was the revelation of the spiritual realm, of the spiritual world, as was revealed to Lord Brahma by the Supreme Lord? So that is the most supreme divine revelation of the spiritual world beyond moksha. After liberation, when the living entities go back to the spiritual world, What it is now being explained from 2.9.8 and 9 onwards, that pravartate yatra rajastamastayoho sattvam na mishram na chakala vikramaha na yatra maya kimuta pare harer anuvrata yatra surag In that divine realm of Vaikuntha Loka, the material modes of na yatra pravartate, there is no tinge of the three modes of material nature of tamoguna, rajoguna, nor is there any sattva guna. Nakala vikramaha, there is no influence of time. Kutonu, and what to speak of the illusory external energy. There is no illusion, maya or moha in that spiritual world. So there, all the living entities are described here as Shyamavadata Shatapatra Lochanaha Pishangavastra Surucha Supeshasaha Sarve Chaturbahava Unmishan Mani Praveka Nishka Bharana Suvanchasaha. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets have a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble the lotus flowers. Their garments are of a dazzling yellowish color, and their bodily features are very, very attractive. They are always in Nitya Yauvana. They are always in the fresh youthfulness, and they have Chaturbhuja. They are four-armed. They are nicely decorated with various kinds of ornaments and decorations, and they are all brightly effulgent. So these are the spiritual bodily features of the eternally liberated beings in the spiritual world. Pravala Vaidurya Mridala Vajjasaha Parisfurat Kundala Mauli Malinaha Brajishnu Bhirya Parito Virajate Lasadvina Vimanavali Mahatmanam Vidyotamanaha Pramadottamadyuvihi Savidyurabhravali Bhiryathanabhaha. And even in the spiritual world, it is mentioned that the Vaikuntha planets are having many are surrounded by Vimana Avalibhihi, by many varieties of Vimanas or spiritual airplanes, which are all glowing and brilliantly situated. So these airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or the eternally liberated devotees of the Lord. So in this way, Shri Yatra Rupinyurugaya Padayoho Karoti Manam Bahudha Vibhutibihi Prenkham Shritaya Kusumakaranugair Vigiyamana Priya Karma Gayati. Shri or Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, in her divine transcendental form, is eternally engaged in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and along with her many companions. So she is always engaged in Priya Karma Gayati, in singing the divine glories of the Lord's activities. And finally, Dadarsha, Lord Brahma saw in that spiritual realm, in that spiritual world, Dadarsha Tatra Khila Sattvatam Patim Shriyapatim Yagnapatim Jagatpatim Sunandananda Prabalarhana Divihi Swapangshadagre Parisevitam Vibhum. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who is the Lord of all the devotees, the Lord of the Goddess of Fortune, Shriyapatihi, Yagnapatim, the Lord of all sacrifices, Jagatpatim, the Lord of the universe, and who is always served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala and Arhana, who are his immediate associates. So in this way, when Lord Brahma finally had the darshan of the Supreme Lord, Taddakshanāhlāda pariplutāntaro hrishyatanu prema bharashrulochanaha nanāma pādām bhujamasya vishvaskik yat paramahamsena pathādigamyate. Lord Brahma, thus having taddarshana ahlada, thus seeing the Supreme Lord, was overwhelmed with intense bliss of joy within his heart. Paripluta means like his heart was over flooded with intense bliss. The darshan of the Supreme Lord is so joyful for the Jivatma that that bliss can completely overflood even the heart of Lord Brahma, and thus in complete transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes were filled with tears of love. Hrishyatanuhu, his entire being was filled in divine ecstasy, and prema bhara ashru, his eyes were filled with tears of love and joy, and nanama padambujam, he, Lord Brahma, bowed down to the lotus feet of the Lord. And in this way, when Lord Brahma approached the Supreme Lord Vishnu, tam priyamanam samupasthitam kavim praja visarge nija shasanarhanam babhasha ishat smita shochisha gira priya priyam pritamana kare sprishan. Seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him as worthy to create the material creation and to be controlled as he desired, to do the creation as per his desire and as per his instructions. And being satisfied with Brahma, Priyaha Prita Mana Karesprishan, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Karesprishan, he shook hands with Lord Brahma and slightly smiling, he spoke to him. So this is the wonderful achievement of Lord Brahma, that after he realized the Supreme Lord, he got the opportunity to shake, to come face to face with the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God, and even had the opportunity to shake hands with the Supreme Lord. And this chance and opportunities available, open to all the Jivatmas, to all the living entities, that one day even we can go to the spiritual world and have darshan of the Supreme Lord face to face, the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Absolute Truth, and even shake hands with the Supreme Lord. So that was the attainment and achievement of Lord Brahma. Lord Vishnu then spoke to Lord Brahma that Tvayaham toshita samyag veda garbha siskshaya chirambhritena tapasa dustoshaha kuta yoginam. That Tvaya aham toshitaham, I am very much pleased with your penance, with the devotional austerity and penance that you have performed. And Lord Vishnu asked him, Varam Varaya Bhadram Te, you may ask from me any benediction that you may desire. So then Brahma, being thus addressed by the Supreme Lord, then began to speak that Brahmo Vacha Bhagavan Sarva Bhutanam Adhyaksho Vasthito Guham Vedahi Apratiruddhena Pragnyanena Chikikshitam. You are situated in every living's heart, and you are already aware of all the endeavors that the living entities undertake. So yet because you are inquiring from me and asking, so I do place my prayer to you that Yathatma Maya Yogena Nana Shakti Upabrimhitam Kridasya Mogha Sankalpa Ugnanabhiryathognute Tatha Tad Vishayam Dehi Manisham Mai Madhava. Please tell me philosophically how I should go about this work of creation that you have entrusted this great responsibility that I should create this material world. So, Bhagavat Shikshitam Aham Karavanihi Atandritaha. I wish to execute, I wish to perform this process of creation, Bhagavat Shikshitam, being directly instructed by your good self, by the Supreme Lord, and therefore Nehamana Praja Sargam. In this activity of Praja Sarga or creation, Badhyayam Yadanugrahat. Lord Brahma says that let there be no impediments, let there be no obstacles in the work that I am going to undertake now of creating this world. Lord Brahma then finally says that Yavat Sakha Sakhyuriveshate Kritaha Praja Visarge Vibhajami Bhojanam Aviklavaste Parikarmani Sthito Mame Samunnadhamadojamaninah. You have shaken hands with me just like a friend does with a friend. So I shall now be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and this is my service to your lotus feet, to the Supreme Lord. My only prayer is that I am going to engage in such a great task, in such a mighty, in such a responsible work. My only prayer is that may I not be bewildered or misled by the false ego that I am the creator, that I am the doer. So this is the prayer of Lord Brahma. Although he has done so many wonderful creations, Lord Brahma, by the grace of the Lord, always remembers that he is not the doer, but actually all the dravya, kriya, shakti is provided by the Supreme Lord, and his prime duty is simply to execute devotional service and surrender to the Supreme Lord. So now, after hearing these prayers of Brahma, the Supreme Lord now begins to give his supreme instruction to Brahma so that he would be equipped with the complete knowledge of creation. So that is now the revelation of the original teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also known as the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So this is the original Srimad Bhagavatam as spoken by the Supreme Lord to Brahma at the beginning of creation. Originally, Srimad Bhagavatam contains only 4 shlokas, known as the Chatushloki Bhagavata, as now going to be revealed from 2.9.33 to 36. And later this was expanded by Lord Brahma with the same intent and with the same content, and then it has finally come to this stage of having 12 cantos and 335 chapters and 18,000 shlokas. Just like the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is also called the Chatushloki Gita, as in 10.8 to 10.11 of the Bhagavad Gita, that is the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Likewise, the Chatushloki Bhagavata is 2.9.33 to 36. So these are the 4 original seed verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are instructed by the Supreme Lord. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Jnanam Paramaguhyam Me Yadvijnana Samanvitam Sarahasyam Tadangam Cha Grihana Gaditam Maya, that I shall reveal the most confidential knowledge about myself, and it has to be realized only in bhakti or devotional service. So what are these 4 original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam? The first is 2.9.33. aham eva samevagre nanyad sad asad nanyad yad sadasat param paschadaham yadetacha yovashishyeta sosmyaham. The first of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam shloka, the Supreme Lord gives the instruction that I, the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Aham Eva Asam Eva Agre. I was the only one existing. I was existing before the creation when there was nothing but myself, nor was there material nature. And that whom you see now is also me, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation of the material creation, what would remain, avashishyeta sosmyaham, will also be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the truth of the Supreme Lord Krishna is eternal. So there is something called eternal and temporary. Everything in the material realm is temporary, but beyond that, in the spiritual world, the personality of Godhead and the entire spiritual realm have no past and no future. Everything is eternal, everything is divine and permanent in nature. So the second of the Chatushloki Bhagavata instruction is that Ritetham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyad atmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. That whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relationship to the Supreme Truth, that is Bhagavan, to Lord Krishna, has no reality. It is only the illusory energy which is compared to a reflection that appears in darkness. So there is the only absolute truth is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anything that appears to be disconnected to him and of any astitva or value or existence is nothing but an illusion, a reflection, or the illusory energy. So this is the second, and the third is yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chavacheshvanu pravishtani apravishtani tatha teshu nateshvaham. Know that all the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter. Similarly, I myself, the Supreme Lord Bhagavan, the Supreme Absolute Truth, exists within everything and at the same time is outside of everything. This is just like the statement in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 9.4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitaha. That I pervade everything, but I am not present in anything. So that is the inconceivable omnipotency and the real truth about the omnipresence of the Lord. The Lord is present in everything by means of his energy, and the origin, the energetic, is still aloof and not present in anything. Although the Supreme Lord is present in Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham, in each and every atom, yet he is not in even a single atom. So that is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord, which is characterized by oneness and difference. Both are there. Although he is there, he is not there. So he is there by means of his energy, but in his personal original form he is not there. So that is the great mystery revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. There is simultaneous oneness and difference of everything with the Supreme Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And the fourth of the Chatushloki is Etavadeva jigyasam tattva jigyasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this point, the point which Brahma has reached now, that is the point of the realization of Bhagavan. If a transcendentalist is searching after the supreme absolute truth and has reached the stage of Brahman, it is incomplete. If he has reached the stage of Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, that is also incomplete unless he comes to the point of Bhagavan in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha Loka. Up to that point, unless one reaches one's search for the absolute truth remains incomplete, and one can attain that ultimate revelation of the supreme absolute truth of Bhagavan as the Lord of the spiritual world, as Vaikuntha-pati, only by the process of pure devotional service. So the ultimate in the revelation of the supreme absolute truth is Bhagavan, and the ultimate process to gain that revelation is bhakti yoga or pure devotional service. So in this way, the revelation of the original seed verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam is beautifully described in the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let us proceed to the conclusive chapter, the 10th chapter of the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the 10th chapter of the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam has the very, very important delineation of the 10 topics or subject matters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam contains 10 topics or 10 subject matters. And what are they? They are revealed in one shloka as in 2.10.1 as Shri Shuka Uvacha Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam Poshanamutayaha Manvantara Ishanukatha Nirodho Muktihi Ashrayaha. The 10 topic matters, the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam are: number 1, Sarga. The second is Visarga, the third is Sthana, the fourth is Poshana, the fifth is Uti, the sixth is Manvantara, the seventh is Ishanukatha, the eighth is Nirodha, the ninth is Mukti, and the 10th one is Ashrayaha. Now what exactly are these 10 topics? They are defined in the next 7 verses from 2.10.2 as first of all, we need also to understand 2.10.2 is a very, very important instruction given by Shukadeva Goswami that Dashamasya Vishuddhyartham Navanam iha lakshanam Varnayanti Mahatmanaha Shrutenarthena Chanjasa. In these 10 topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam, again, there are 2 categories. Among the 10 topics, there are 2 categories. They are the Ashrita Tattva and the second one is the Ashraya Tattva. Ashraya Tattva is the ultimate resting place of all the other 9. Ashraya Tattva is only one, and all the other 9 topics or subject matters are Ashrita Tattva or dependent on the supreme shelter. So Ashraya Tattva is ultimately only one, and the other 9 topics belong to the Ashrita Tattva. So that which are the categories of the supreme absolute truth. So for the to isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the ultimate absolute truth. The symptoms of the rest, the lakshanas of the rest are described by individual inference. But ultimately, it is the Ashraya, the supreme absolute truth. So, this is very beautifully explained that all the nine tattvas, which include everything about creation, maintenance, destruction, liberation, even about the incarnations and the expansions of the Supreme Lord, are included in the Ashrita Tattva. Ashraya Tattva, the supreme shelter of all the other nine topics or factors, is only one. And that one, the 10th topic matter, is going to be described in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So he is Ashraya Tattva. So brief definition and meaning of all the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam are given here forth. In 2.10.3 it is said, Bhuta Matrendriya Dhiyam Janma Sarga Udahritaha Brahmano Guna Vaishamyan Visargaha Paurusha Smritaha. Bhutamatrendriya Dhiyam Janma Sarga Udahritaha. The meaning of Sarga, the first topic is Sarga, which means primary creation. Primary creation is the original, the first creation of the basic material elements. The second topic is Visarga, which means secondary creation, which is Brahmano Guna Vaishamyad Visargaha Paurusha Smritaha. Visarga refers to the secondary creation made by Lord Brahma by interaction of the three modes of material nature. The third topic is Sthiti, or the right situation of maintenance, which is Vaikuntha Vijayaha. Sthitir Vaikuntha Vijayaha. The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Supreme Lord. And the fourth subject matter is Poshanam. Poshanam tad anugraha manvantarani saddharma utayaha karma vasanaha. The fourth subject matter is Poshana, which is the special protection and grace of the Supreme Lord given to his pure devotees. The fifth topic is Manvantara, which means the Manus and their laws to give the right direction to the living entities of this world. The sixth topic is Uti. Uti refers to the impetus to work. So the impetus for activity is the desire for fruitive work or selfish work, which creates the karmas and vikarmas and karma bandhanas. So that is Uti, the sixth subject matter. The seventh subject matter is Avataranucharitam Hareshchasyanu Pumsam Isha Katha Prokta Nanakhyanopa. The seventh subject matter is Isha Katha, the signs of God, which is the description of the various incarnations and the expansions of the original personality of Godhead and his various divine activities, along with the activities of his great pure devotees. The eighth subject matter is Nirodha. Nirodha means the final annihilation or winding up. Nirodho asya anushayanam. So Nirodha refers to the final lying down of Mahavishnu for winding up this cosmic manifestation is called Nirodha. The ninth topic, the ninth subject matter is Mukti, or liberation, which is defined as Muktir Hitva Anyatha Rupam Swarupena Vyavasthitihi. This is the beauty of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 2.10.6. In one line, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the perfect and precise definition of mukti or liberation. Mukti means mukti refers to the permanent situation of the original form of the living entity after giving up all the changing gross and subtle material bodies. In this material world, anyatha rupam, we have taken different forms which are not our original form, our original nature. So muktihi hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthitihi. To be situated in one's original constitutional form is called as mukti. And finally, the 10th subject matter is defined in 2.10.7 as आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोऽस्त्यध्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परब्रह्म Paramatmeti Shabdyate. The final resting place, the Ashraya Tattva, Saha Ashrayaha is Parabrahma, is Supreme Absolute Truth, who is the Paramatma, who is the Supreme Soul, and he is the Supreme Being, the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation and its reservoir of winding up. He is the Supreme Fountainhead, the Supreme Absolute Truth, and that is Lord Shri Krishna. So these are the 10 topics, the 10 subject matters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as very clearly and precisely mentioned and defined in the 10th chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So thus we conclude the 10th chapter of the second canto, and we also conclude the second canto, the analysis of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions pertaining to today's subject matter, please do post your questions on the WhatsApp group or in the comments box. And please do join us tomorrow for the continuation of the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to begin the next canto, the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.